One phone call, one lie, and a fake smile that played the law like a violin. He wasn't a lawyer. He was a genius of deception, a performer in a suit, burying the truth under layers of jokes, slick talk, and a neon-colored grin. If you broke the law, call him. If the law was after you, still call him. If you wanted to escape hell itself, he'd invent the exit sign. But behind those ridiculous TV ads, behind those loud yellow, green, and blue suits, something was buried, a secret no one dared to speak out loud. This isn't just the story of a lawyer. It's the story of a man who was willing to burn everything just to be seen. And now, it's time to show you what Better Call Saul never did. It all began with a boy with big dreams in a world that kept telling him, no. Jimmy McGill was the son of a hopeless store owner, a small, dusty corner shop that bled money because his father trusted everyone, even the ones who came to rob him blind. And Jimmy, he watched, he learned. He realized early on that kindness didn't pay. That honesty in this world was a one-way ticket to failure. He wasn't a bad kid, just too clever for his own good, smart in all the wrong ways. He didn't shine in school, but on the streets, in the alleys, in the little cons and pranks. That's where Jimmy thrived. In high school, they called him Slippin' Jimmy, faking falls in parking lots to scam petty money from strangers. He was a small-time hustler with a sharp mind and a silver tongue. But above all, he was terrified of ending up like his dad, kind, broke, and forgotten. But Jimmy had a brother, Chuck McGill, a respected lawyer, the family's pride. And behind that polite smile, Chuck saw Jimmy as a joke, a clown trying to sneak into a world of order and law. Chuck never had to say it out loud. Jimmy could feel it, the disapproval, the disappointment. No matter how hard he tried, he was always the shadow to Chuck's spotlight. So Jimmy made a choice. He wouldn't stay in the shadows anymore. He enrolled in law school, by mail, by night, without help, without praise. And when he finally got that law degree and asked for a chance, Chuck made sure, silently, cunningly, that the door stayed shut. Because deep down, Chuck was afraid. Afraid that this kid, this joke of a brother, might one day threaten his kingdom of control and respect. But Jimmy, he didn't quit. He adapted. He created someone new. He didn't walk the straight path. He carved out his own, crooked, fast, and flashy, armed with charm, loopholes, and an unstoppable will. That's when Saul Goodman was born, a name as fake as a stage name, with a voice smooth as butter. But behind the bright ties and fast talk was a heart full of scars. Saul Goodman wasn't just a persona. He was the answer to every insult Jimmy had swallowed, every door slammed in his face, every time someone told him, "You're not good enough." And now, he was ready to show them all. The law may belong to the powerful, but the game, that belongs to the one who rewrites the rules. Saul Goodman wasn't just a name anymore. He was a brand, a billboard with a neon grin, a late-night TV jingle that burrowed into your head like a parasite. Got troubles? Better call Saul. People laughed, but Saul knew better. Behind the laughter was a hunger, a need, and he was the answer. He wasn't Jimmy McGill anymore. He didn't chase Chuck's approval. That chapter was done, burned, and buried. Now, he was the legal hustler of Albuquerque, the guy you called when you were guilty as sin but still wanted to walk free. His office? A circus. Petty criminals, scam artists, low-level dealers, even killers. The cast of society's rejects came through his doors, and Saul welcomed them with open arms. Where other lawyers saw dirt, Saul saw opportunity. He didn't judge, he strategized. He didn't believe in justice, he believed in the game. And in this game, truth didn't matter, only who could spin the better story. In court, Saul was a showman. His suits were loud, his gestures theatrical, his voice smooth like jazz. He didn't argue law, he sold it. Juries, he charmed them. Judges, he disarmed them. Opposing counsel, he danced around them until they choked on their own facts. And it worked. Case after case, Saul walked out a winner. His enemies began to whisper, "This guy isn't just dangerous, He's untouchable, but every rise casts a long shadow. When Saul stepped into the world of real crime, the drug world, things changed. He crossed paths with Mike Ehrmantraut, a silent enforcer, a soldier with eyes that had seen too much. Then came Gus Fring, the man who ran a fast food empire by day and a drug empire by night. With Saul in the middle, the bridge between the criminal underworld and the legal facade. From the outside, he was still Saul, the charming crook, the dancing clown. But inside, he was choking, because now, one wrong word could get him killed. Trust meant nothing here. Everything was a transaction. Every favor had a cost. And Saul, he was in too deep. But the worst enemy was never out there. It was inside. He couldn't tell where Saul ended and Jimmy began. The mask was becoming the man. Each shady call, each blood-soaked client, each envelope stuffed with cash took him further from the kid who once wanted to matter. And even though he was rising, it wasn't towards glory. He was climbing a tower made of lies. And everyone knows, the higher you go without a foundation, the harder you fall. In the underworld, there's a rule stronger than any law, older than any constitution, and deadlier than any weapon. Silence is loyalty. And once you break that silence, you don't just betray people, you sign your own death sentence. Saul Goodman, the man who bent reality with words, had now wandered too deep into a world where words were lethal. He wasn't just a lawyer anymore. He was a gatekeeper, the bridge between criminals and the courts. And in this world, people didn't talk. They disappeared. Everything began to unravel the day Saul heard a whisper. Someone's talking, and not just anyone. Salvatore. Salvatore had been his closest contact, a right-hand man to a powerful local syndicate. He was supposed to be untouchable, solid, loyal, but everyone has a price. And Salvatore had found his. He was flipping, leaking details to the feds, not just about drugs, not just about gangs, but about Saul. Dates, names, cash drops, offshore accounts. The FBI now had a paper trail that bled red. At first, Saul refused to believe it. He'd seen betrayal before, but not this. Not from someone inside his circle. Not from someone who once said, "If you go down, I go down with you." But truth doesn't need belief. It came in the form of surveillance, phone taps, audio tapes, Saul's own voice clear as day, explaining how to clean dirty money, how to dodge a subpoena, how to manipulate the justice system. Word by word, his empire burned. The flashy suits, the office with the Constitution wallpaper, the jokes, none of it mattered now. The game was over. The FBI was closing in. Prosecutors had built a case brick by brick. Former clients disappeared or turned witness. No one was returning calls. No one was protecting Saul now. And that sacred silence, the one he used to preach as code, it had turned into a deafening echo, one that screamed betrayal. He sat alone in a dark, crumbling apartment, far from the neon lights and TV jingles. And for the first time, he heard the question he'd asked so many others come back to haunt him. So who you gonna call? There was no answer. Because when the code of silence breaks, there are no friends left, only ghosts. And in Saul's world, the loudest silence is the one that comes just before the fall. No one could have imagined Saul Goodman, the quirky TV lawyer with the flashy ads and catchphrases, sitting behind bars. But downfall doesn't always come like a whisper. Sometimes it slaps you in the face so hard it leaves a scar for life. And when you try to outrun the truth, it hunts you harder. The trial began. But this time, Saul wasn't the defender. He was the accused. The media went wild. Every network broadcasted the court sessions like it was the Super Bowl. Some called it the trial that would cleanse the system. Others just wanted to watch a titan fall. Saul sat there, silent. No colorful suits, no cheesy jokes. Just a broken man with dead eyes. And in front of him, witnesses who used to beg for his help, now begging the court to bury him instead. The prosecutor stood tall. "Mr. Goodman," he asked, Do you plead guilty? A pause. The courtroom froze. Cameras zoomed in on Saul's face. And then he smiled. Not the smile from the billboards. This one had no charm, only bitterness. He said, "I just played the game the way the system taught me, just like everyone else." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. And in that moment, everyone realized this man wasn't just guilty. He was made by the very thing trying to destroy him. But justice had no time for irony. The sentence was clear, 75 years without parole. That was the moment Saul finally went quiet. Not out of fear, not regret, just acceptance. The game was over, and in this game, there are no heroes, only players. Some clever, some cruel, all doomed. Saul Goodman, now just a story. A ghost in a legal system he once danced through like smoke. Now, just a name, whispered in caution. Saul Goodman is gone. No more cheesy commercials, no flashy office, just a cold federal cell and a name that now lives in legend. But his story doesn't end there. In fact, this is where it truly begins, inside the minds of millions. Some still speak his name. A whole generation of lawyers, criminals, and law students look back at his tale with fascination. How did a man with a fake identity bring the justice system to its knees? How did someone rise from the gutter to a place where even the law feared him? Documentaries were made, books were written. Even a Hollywood film tried to explore the layers of this complex man, but none of them captured the fear he lived with every single day. The fear of being exposed, the fear of losing the mask, the fear that maybe he didn't even know who he was anymore. In prison, when no one else cared, it was just him and the mirror, and that's when Saul Goodman became Jimmy McGill again. The man who just wanted to be seen, wanted to matter, wanted never to be forgotten. Years have passed since, but in some back alley of Albuquerque, when someone says the name Saul Goodman, people pause for a moment, smile, and whisper, "Better Call Saul."